What is discovery?
So Discovery is the Webtrends Optimize reporting platform. We rebuilt it around 6 months ago, and we rebuilt it for a variety of reasons, which we'll come on to, but really based off the feedback from our users in terms of how they wanted to interpret and consume the data we had available.
How does the Webtrends Optimize discovery reporting function work? What are its key features?
So in terms of how it works, it's really the output of everything we're doing within the product. So if we're running tests or what we call targets and personalization strategies alongside other things which are available, the output is the reporting. It's the key piece of what we're trying to consume and understand about how things that we have done have ultimately performed. So it allows us to aggregate all the information that we have available about a test into one screen, and it allows an end user to be able to go in and consume that information really efficiently, really effectively, and ultimately really easily. In terms of key features, really it's how we're breaking the information down for you to be able to see. I think that it's key when you're talking about reporting for things to appear very intuitively, very simply on the screen, and for you to be able to answer the questions that you have really, really quickly. So the features we have are kind of designed to answer some of those questions. Even breaking down things by device type, for example, we've made it exceptionally quick to understand the difference from one device to another in terms of performance, all the way through to the more advanced stabilization charts, wanting to consume information on how things are progressing over the course of a test, for example.
What problems does discovery solve for users, and how?
So I think this is a big question. There's three key things we looked at alongside the feedback in terms of the intuitiveness. So the speed is one. The way in the speed in which we can get the data in terms of real time is another. And the way in which we can scale, I think, is a third. So if we think about the speed, forever in reporting products, are you waiting for stuff to come on the screen? You have a loading icon and you're jumping between reports and you're filtering and segmenting reports, and you're forever waiting for that data to show. You will never wait more than a few seconds in our product or within the Discovery platform for things to load on the screen. If you want to jump between different devices, different date ranges, you want to change things about the report you're seeing, everything happens in a couple of seconds. And I think that's really critical. If you're in there for a long period of time, you're analyzing lots of information about a test, you just want those things to happen really quickly. There's nothing worse than waiting. So speed is a key one. In terms of real time, so we sit just a few seconds or a minute or so behind at maximum what's happening on the site at any time. Most products have a big delay here, anything from an hour up to 24 to 48 hours. And that doesn't just affect the analysis of the test. If you think about someone who's building a test and they're trying to QA something to understand if it's working, they're going to want to see that information and data really quickly. So they're making changes about what to track. They're going to want to see that reflected within the Discovery reporting platform very quickly. So another piece of what we have available, or another piece of the advantages, is that kind of real-time nature of the data that's coming through. In terms of the third, scale, so this is really important. You don't want in your busiest times and your busiest peaks to have something fall over when you have critical data attached to it. So we've tested our platform at a huge scale, way above beyond what we see on Black Friday, for example. We've never had any issues with it, and it's prepared and it's built to scale at any size, at any rate, for anyone.
How is it unique compared to reporting tools you've seen in other testing or experimentation vendors?
So I think it's really difficult to be unique in this area. I think that, in terms of what we class as reporting, everything's sort of much of a muchness in terms of what they're showing. However, there are little things that we are doing in the platform which allow for a little bit more flexibility than you would see elsewhere. And there are a couple of points which, seem very minor, but actually can have a really big impact on how quickly you can evaluate tests, for example. So even changing the scope of what we're reporting on, whether it's a user or a session, it seems minor, but in terms of aligning it with other data sets you have, it's critical to be able to do that, and we don't see that with all vendors. Even the ability to change when something is significant or not, for example. You have the flexibility to do that on a test-by-test basis. Even as a user yourself, you can change the confidence, if you like, or the significance without impacting what anyone else is seeing. And again, it seems minor, But in other vendors, we see this as a kind of an account level setting, and sometimes that has an impact on how users want to consume that test data. So in terms of how it's unique, I think it's difficult, but there's definitely some things which stand out for us, which are noted by users of other platforms as well as how we're being unique in that area.
Is it complicated to use or understand?
So I think it's fair to say, if you're consuming information about tests, it's a big data set, for example. It can be complicated if you want it to be. But we've started off really light and really intuitively. So if you just want to get to the core information about how a test performs, it's really easy to do so. You can turn things on and off on the screen, and you can make it very light in terms of what's being shown. If you want to, on the flip side of that, go more advanced and go really into the depths of the data, you can do, and you can make it as complicated as you want or need to. The feedback we had from clients originally was all the information was there, it was difficult to consume. Now what we're seeing is a different pattern whereby people are starting off who have never really used reporting before, and they're really picking it up quite quickly. We're starting to advance them through to some of the more advanced techniques in understanding the performance of a test, for example.
Thanks for watching our video. To learn more, go to www.webtrends-optimize.com.